everybody, we are going to start the Summertime is Back kit. It is a it is a May Club Q kit, and it is some gorgeous spring colors. Super easy kit to put together. We have most things cut for you. We have one diagram that we'll be cutting, but very easy kit to put together. Beautiful spring colors, and we will go ahead and get started. The Powder Puff chalking inks that we suggest are Pumpkin Pie, Lemon Drop, and Sahara Sand. So it's two different yellows and an orange. But as you can tell, we have a lot of colors that we could work with. There's light blues in there, there's green, oranges, yellows. So you choose the colors from your stash that work for you. It looks like I am actually going to use Mango Mai Tai. I have Weeping Willow here to add some green. Dragonfly, which is a little more teal. So you choose the colors that work for you. We are going to go ahead and get started. And as I usually do, we will cut out the diagram first, get all our cutting done so that we can get our cutter out of the way. It has one cutting diagram here, and then we have a few things that we need to cut out of paper. I actually just use scissors and fussy cut this little quote here because it is very skinny and hard to kind of get straight in your trimmer. Or if you haven't cut it at all yet, maybe cut this piece out first on your trimmer so you have more paper to work with there. But I ended up trimming it with my scissors. My little journaling piece, you trim that out. And I am going to go ahead and get started on this diagram. And I always leave the diagram right next to me so that I know what I'm working on there. And actually, I want to show you a couple of things with the die cuts before we get too far. The green die cut that has the sunflowers, we are actually going to use this outside frame. So make sure that you don't throw that piece away. And what I would do if you still have the tab on it, I would go ahead and trim that off before you even punch anything out. If you already did punch it out, that's totally fine. But I just wanted to let you know that we're using this outside frame piece so that you don't have to go digging it out of the garbage. And then you can punch out the pieces from there, but just make sure that you save that frame. And whichever order you want to do this in, you can trim your diagrams, or you can cut your, or punch your die cuts out first if you would like. So save this. But go ahead and, if you want to punch your die cuts out first, go ahead and hit pause and just go ahead and punch those out if you want. These are a little bit delicate, so I just take it kind of easy going around these pieces here. And that's the great thing about a video, is that if I get going too fast or I punch these out too fast, you just push pause, pick up where you left off whenever it's convenient for you. Because this one is a little tricky. The little tabs in it are pretty small, so it does come out fairly easy, but it is a little bit delicate, so it takes a little more time than with a lot of our die cuts. And if you just happen to tear a piece off, then we'll glue it back together. No biggie. Everything's fixable. So there's that. You'll have two of those pieces. And then a couple strips here in the middle that come out. So you have 2 1/4-inch strips here. When I punch out my die cuts, I kind of keep them all layered in pile by color. So I punch those out. I got my white fences punched out. And my sunflowers. I love the look of these thin, more delicate die cuts, but they are a little more difficult to work with. And the first one that I did, I actually tore a piece of it off, but I just glued it right back on where it was supposed to be on your page, so you can't even tell. Okay, and then all these pieces you can throw away. These are just scraps. And then one more thing with the die cuts. So you have 3 little banners that came out of the top here. Those 3 need to all stay together. This piece right here is just extra, so you can use it to add another photo, use it on a different page, but that's a lot of extra space that you can use later. And it was also brought to my attention that in these 2 pieces here, those actually came in one long strip. So one other cut we are going to make. So if you're not done punching stuff out, go ahead and hit pause, punch out all your pieces, and then we will get started with the cutting. This piece here is going to, it's already at 3.5 inches, and we need 2 3.5 by 5.5. So we're just going to put this in and trim it at 5.5. And I'm going to move this one down to 5.5 and trim. So it doesn't actually say the cut for that up here. For some reason it didn't get in there. Usually our directions are very, very precise and clear. Doesn't look like that one got in there. But this is a cut that you need to make, so you have 2 little photo backers there. And even if you didn't have the video, once you got to the end of this kit, you would realize what that paper is for. So no biggie, we have it in there. We made the cut, 2 3.5 by 5.5s. And then your 5 by 7 is actually already cut for you in there. So I'm going to put all of those together. And you have one solid yellow piece, and we are going to cut it according to this diagram. What I'm going to do is, since this is one straight line across, I'm going to cut the 4 by 6s first. So I will put it into my trimmer at 4 inches and cut. And it doesn't matter the direction of the paper because you're not using this stripe on the other side anyway. So your 4-inch strip here, you turn and cut it at 6. So you have 2 4 by 6s, which are these 2 pieces behind here. And then I'm going to cut my 5.5 by 7.5 yellow. So just turn it. Oh, it looks like trim this a little bit crooked. I'm going to just trim that little white piece off. Got in a hurry. There we go. Okay, so we're going to make the 5.5 by 7.5. So this big piece that's left, we're just going to put in at 5.5 and trim, and then turn it to 7.5 and trim. So you have a 5.5 by 7.5, which is this piece up here. And then you have the smaller over here. So we have a 3 by 3 and a 3 by 4. What we're going to do is just trim this at 3 inches. Put it in at 3 inches and trim. And then we need a 3 by 3. So we'll just turn it to 3 inches here. And a 3 by 4. So just slide that through to 4 and trim, and then this is just a little leftover piece. Can be garbage. 3 by 3, 3 by 4. And we need a 2 by 4. So this piece, it's not quite 4. So what we'll have to do is turn it this way cut it at 4 inches. This is leftover, so move that out of the way because that's not one that we're even going to use. This is just leftover. Put that out of your workspace altogether so it doesn't get confused. And then we are going to turn it and cut 2 inches. So you have a 2 by 4. This little piece is garbage. This 2 by 4 we will be using. Okay, so I think we have all, oh, actually no, we need to cut this white piece of paper. So it's a 3 inch by 11.5. We need to do these in 1 inch strips. So we are going to put it in long way. And what I do is I start at the bottom and trim up so that it pushes it against this top piece so that it'll stay straight. So I start down here, push up. That's 1 inch. Slide it over. I start at the bottom again, push up, and then that gives you 3 1 inch by 12 or 11.5 inch piece. Yep, 11.5 by 1. There's 3 of those. Okay, so we have the cutting done and out of the way. And move your trimmer. And we will get out the background papers to get started here. The background papers are, one is this green border or green frame. Make sure that this is all in the picture so we can do them all at one time here. Okay. So one background is an open frame, which will get covered up with, you can use whichever side you like. The green side actually matches this best because it has the green background and the green sunflower pieces there. But if you have an idea of how to use it with the blue, you go ahead and use the other side if you'd like. And as we go, feel free to chalk this stuff up as you like. So I also have, it's an older green, but it's called Fields of Green. I'm going to use that around the edges here just to add a little extra green to it. But totally up to you what color you want to chalk it with, or if you don't want to chalk the edges of this at all, no worries. And one easy way that we chalk the edges, you might have seen this in some of our classes, we actually, if you have a little box to sit this on and just put it right up to the edge, the corner of the box there. So if the box is underneath here, I'm trying to look to see if I have a box here that I could actually use. But put the box underneath here, you just pull this right to the edge and just run this down the side. And then you have something sturdy underneath of it that you can make a nice, easy swipe down the side. I'm not even doing all of the edges, just a little bit in the corners, maybe some down the edge a little bit. And then I am going to put some adhesive around the outside. A lot of times I'll use my ATG gun for something like this. But you only want it around the outside because it's going on this 1 inch frame here. This Barely Art glue I use for a lot of the intricate stuff. Not usually for the background paper, but it's definitely, you definitely can because it just has a really precise tip. It's really nice to use on the die cuts, especially ones like this today that are a little more intricate, but it works for this too. Okay, so you center that on there. The other one, you do the same. I'm going to, just so this looks the same as the other, I'm going to run my Fields of Green. And it can be messy. A lot of it's going to be kind of covered up anyway. And the background paper is already kind of splotchy and messy, so it's not going to show if you make a few bigger spots there. Okay, so I'm going to get a little adhesive on here. With the Sparely Art Glue, you don't need a whole lot. It's real tacky. Maybe a little bit in the middle, and then around the outside. Center that. Oops, I didn't get it centered very well. Great thing about this Barely Art Glue also, not that it's just precision tip, it gives you a couple seconds to move it, but once it sticks, it sticks. So you want to have, you don't have a whole lot of time, but it does give you just a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, so we have our background papers together, and where we are going to start is take any of your pieces, chalk them up as you want them. We are going to start with one of the 1 by 11.5 inch white papers, and we want it 3.5 inches from the left edge of the first. You can either measure that out or you can do abouts. But what I would do is actually lay this out on the edge of it, just so you can gauge that you have enough room here for your flower. And then that is where you want to put your white piece of paper. So I'm actually going to chalk this one up just a little bit on the edges with some orange. I probably won't go all the way around this, just a little bit down the side to add some color to the page. Put a little adhesive behind here. And I'm going to leave this laying out so I know exactly where I want it since I didn't measure it. There we go. And this will go right up on the edge of it, just like that. And that goes off just a little bit, but that's fine. It's still on the page. Okay, so that same thing you want to do across the top of the second page. So I'm gonna chalk that just a little bit, add some orange. This is my Mango Mai Tai. Any of the darker oranges. Fall leaves would work, pumpkin pie would work. That one's a little more orangey. But this you will also want to line up. But on this one, we are actually going to have this going down the middle. So what you can do is lay this on here. Make sure you have space at the top for your flower. And glue it down. Because this flower, as you can see on the second page, it actually goes in the middle of that white strip. Whereas on the first page, it's moved to the edge there. Okay. And from there, we can put on our other white piece. And then we have the background all set up and we can start layering our photo mats on and stuff. And this one will go, let's see if it says exactly. It's 2 inches from the bottom. And this one really can be about, because it doesn't, there's nothing that has to fit exactly over it. I'm just going to say about 2 inches from the bottom. And then you have these skinny little strips that came out of your die cut. Skinny little strips like this. One will go across here. Down the middle. This is where this glue comes in really handy on these smaller pieces like this. And you don't have to put it all the way down. You can just put a few dots here and there. This stuff is pretty tacky. And same over here. Down the middle. Oops, I got a little extra glue on there. Another great thing about this glue is it dries clear, so you will never see that glue once it dries. Okay, so we have the basics down for the background. What I'm going to do from here is kind of layer these things up. So you have your 5.5 by 7.5. This is going right over the top. If you choose to use the blue side, that's fine too. Add some blue to it. But this can get glued right to the top. And I'm just going to lay these kind of in their place for right now. We can glue them down later or after you get your pictures in, so that you know where they're going to be and you don't cover things up. Chalk the edges of this a little bit. I know there's no orange in the paper, but this is using chalks on, or the powder puffs on some of these is an easy way to add one more color to your page without even having the color in the paper. And it still kind of goes because it will, or it still goes really well because it is still a spring fun color. So again, just lay these out so that it works for your photos. You definitely don't want to cover up an important part of your photo. So lay these out so that you know where you want them. If you don't have photos right now, no big deal. We usually teach all of our classes so that you can put them in later. But we just always remind you to only use a little bit of glue on the back here so that you can still slide a picture underneath there if you need to. And right over that is the picket fence. So I'm going to tack these down a little bit, but if you want to lay yours out, you can, and then go back. But I'm not putting pictures in mine right now, so I'm just going to tack them down about where I see in the picture of our directions. I've had this glue for a long time. It's finally starting to run out. That glue lasts a long time because you don't need a whole lot every time you use it. And of course, before you glue this fence down, you'll want to have your pictures in your photos there. And one thing, before you glue this fence down, actually, you may want to grab your 3 banners that all look the same, or they're the same size. Grab those 3 banners and just make sure, because see, I did put that down a little, well, it's a little too far. Move these up a little bit. So maybe gauge how far you need them up so that your banner still fits. Because you'll want to make your banner like this and have enough space for it. I'm going to go ahead and tack those down. Chalk these up if you would like. Okay, your 2x4" piece of yellow, that is for your journaling piece. So chalk that up with the color you like. I'm gonna use green again. Looks like I got something on mine. This is going to go right up under here, but what we want to do is just place that there because we are going to move these pieces in to make sure that we have the look and the space that we need. I'm going to move this up here a little bit. So I am going to go about halfway in, 6 inches, with the longest, one of the longest on there. Nope, I'm sorry, not the longest. So there's 2 pieces here. This one is slightly shorter. This one is going to go halfway in your page. This one is going to go in about 3/4 of an inch from the right of your page. The shorter bright yellow color is going to overlap just a little bit. And then your last small one, your green one, is going to go right here. And then depending on what kind of look you want, you can move these all together. You can separate them a little bit, totally up to you. I'm going to do mine just like this. I did this a little bit backwards, but so about halfway in your page. This one overlaps a little bit. And this one overlaps a little bit. So however it's easiest for you, but this is the look that we have on the instructions. We're going to put the journaling piece right over top of that. And actually, we haven't moved just to the right a little bit. So you can see there's about an inch hanging, an inch more showing over here. Here we go. And right at the top of that, we have our little buttons to add some orange. And this glue, it eventually dries on this plastic, but it takes a little while. So just know that maybe give it a little extra time to dry because these plastic slick buttons take longer. Okay. Now we have 2 photo mats that we need to make. Just gonna go across here. And they actually overlap a little bit. But these I'm gonna chalk up, add some green. You could put a little orange around the outside of this, maybe just to add a little bit to it. Green. And again, if you don't have your photos in there, just make sure you don't glue everything all the way down so that you can peel it up, get photos in. I see that I have a little white space there that I didn't cut quite right. So what I do is I just go in with any color powder puff and chalk it up. You'll never know that there's like white on the side that I missed there. This, once your photo is down, this will go across your photo. Okay, so we're getting close. Your little flowers here, chalk those up in a color that you would like. And actually, I have this petunia color from our new set, and I'm going to use that one. I know it's not quite the same, but you do you, and you choose a color that works for you. Maybe do one orange. Oh, got that on there. And one petunia again. It's similar, but the petunia has a little bit more pink in it. And then your last buttons go here. And remember, these take a while to dry, so don't just pick this up and put it in your page protector. Give it some time, unless you're using some glue dots or a different adhesive for the plastic pieces. Eventually these do dry pretty nicely, but it just takes a little longer. And the last piece that I have is the yellow that goes behind your sunflower. And I would choose a kind of a brighter color. I have Mango Mai Tai. I am going to chalk that one up so that it goes in towards the center so that you have kind of an orangey look. I love this because it kind of fades into the yellow. And what I do is it goes right behind here. So I'm going to flip this over and do the glue right there and then match it up. And that's all you need. You don't need to have glue across the entire piece. It'll hold it in place right there. And then when you go to glue it all down, we'll put a little glue across here and then maybe a few dots down these leaves here. It doesn't have to have every piece glued. The great thing about this glue is that it's really precision tip. You can get tiny little dots on there. And you don't have to use a lot, and if you use too much, it actually dries clear, so you don't have to worry about it showing up. And then tack that down there. Do the same here. Oops, I actually used petunia here on mine. Just kind of make it chalky all the way in. And flip this over, get the center pieces. You could even at the same time do these little leaves. Just a few dots here and there. And that will be tacky enough, and if you do get too much on there, it will dry clear if you're using the Barely Art glue. I think it is like maybe around $9 on our website, but one bottle will last you a very long time. We also have refills on there too that are large refills, and they last quite a while. Okay. I'm going to put a little glue here. And then this one is going to go in the center of your white. Actually, it looks like I even put it a little further down over top of that. But you place it whatever looks good for you on yours. There we go. Super easy kit, beautiful spring colors. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for being a Club Q member, and we will see you next month.